All right, a lot of you guys have requested this video, so here it is, man. Seafood dressing. Yeah, boy. All right, to start our seafood stock, what we have here is a bunch of frozen shells. These are all shrimp shells. I keep them. Whenever I buy my shrimp, I always buy them with shells on. And so I take and freeze the shells. And this is basically a bunch of frozen shells. We're gonna go ahead and heat up our pan. A little olive oil. What we're gonna do first is try to roast off these shells a little bit. Kind of, brown them up a little bit. And then we'll continue the process with adding water so we can start creating our stock. All right, we start to heat our pan. We're gonna go ahead and put our shrimp shells in the pan. All right, now what we're gonna do is just kind of cook these off a little bit. Turn my pan around a little. We're gonna just cook these off a little bit. We're trying to brown them up a little bit. We want them to toast and roast a little bit in this pan so that they can exude even more flavor for this stock. All right, it's been about 10 minutes. As you can see, our shells are starting to turn pink, starting to get some color to them. That's perfect. At this point, we wanna add, I've got 2 small garlic cloves that I cut in half. I've got like 3 sprigs of thyme and 3 bay leaves. We're gonna add all that to the pot. And then we're gonna cook it for another 5 minutes. Let that heat through a little bit. And then we'll start, and then we'll add the water. All right, our shells have heated through an additional 5 minutes. Right here, what I have is 6 cups of water. I might need more. Yeah, so a total, and this is just for the pot size that I have. I'm gonna probably use about 12 cups of water total. So at this point, we're gonna let it come to a boil. And once it starts to come to a boil, I'm gonna cut it down on the heat, let it simmer out, and I'm probably gonna cook it for about an hour, maybe even an hour and a half. All right, as you can see, it's starting to reduce. It's been on for probably about an hour now, and it's starting to reduce. I'm probably gonna let it go for about another 30 minutes. I just wanted to tighten up a little bit more. The more you let it reduce, the more condensed the flavor, and that's what we're going for. We really want it to taste like shrimp. That's why I didn't put a lot of herbs in it. I'll have herbs in the dressing. I didn't want to dilute the stock with too much stuff. So that's it. Another 30 minutes, we should be good to go. All right, another stock that I'm making to go along with this shrimp stock is I'm making a stock with turkey tails. I have turkey tails. I have fresh sage, some thyme in this one as well. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a condensed stock. It's gonna be a seafood dressing, but it's also gonna have elements of turkey stock, maybe even some chicken stock in it as well to help fortify the flavor of the dressing. So if you can find turkey tails, use turkey tails for your stock. It's probably the most flavorful part of the turkey. If you cannot find turkey tails then by all means just use chicken stock. All right, the next step in the process is cornbread. Now this is up for debate. If you don't know how to make cornbread, you can go get you some buttermilk cornbread, buttermilk cornmeal, and just follow the directions on the back of the package. If your grandmama got a good cornbread recipe, use that. If you want to use Jiffy Mix, then use that. It don't really matter. I mean, it's all up to debate. But me, I'm making my own cornbread. And I'm gonna use a hot skillet. Now this hot skillet actually has bacon drippings in it from bacon I cooked earlier today. But if you don't want to use no bacon drippings, then just spray it down with some canola nonstick spray and you'll be good to go. But to me, cast iron is the way to go. All right, I got my cornbread in the skillet. You can see the drippings from the grease, from the bacon grease on the side. I'm gonna throw it in the oven, cook it up. Whatever your directions say, use that. And this is the start of the best damn cornbread dressing you'll ever put in your mouth. Yeah, boy. All right, this right here is totally optional. These are like some French bread, more on the line of what you see in New Orleans with a po' boy. And you could, by all means, use the stuff in the bag. I think they call it cornbread stuffing mix or something like that. You could use that as well. Again, only thing it's gonna do is just act as a binder to help fill out the dressing. It's not the base of the dressing, it's just to help fill the dressing out. So I don't like that cornbread dressing stuff that you get in the bag, so I'm gonna make my own little stuff. Take some bread, I'm gonna put some little seasoning on top, like an Italian seasoning and a few other things in there. And this is gonna take the place of that cornbread stuff you get in the bag. You gotta cut it up. Cut it up like bread cube size. All right, that's it. We just made bread cube sizes. We're gonna throw this in the oven, 450, probably about 10 minutes, and we'll be good to go. Yeah, boy. All right, the next step in this process is to make a roux. If you already have some roux made up in the freezer, use that. If you want to use one of those pre-packaged roux, use that. But I'm actually gonna make a roux, and so right now what I have in here is a cup, like a cup of oil, and I'm gonna use about a cup of flour, half and half. And I'm just gonna make a basic roux. Kind of like a peanut butter roux. So I'm gonna cook this roux down and then we'll go on to the next step. All right, like I mentioned before, making the roux is totally optional. You do not have to make this. You could just use straight chicken stock and your cream of mushroom and cream of chicken. But this is what I'm doing with the roux. So this is our roux right here. It's kind of like almost a peanut butter color. That's good enough for me. I'm going in with some yellow peppers. And I'm using all of them. Going on with some red peppers. And that's about one yellow pepper, one red pepper, and that's about one medium-sized white onion. All of them pretty much have like a medium-sized dice. And we're gonna cook this down in here. Let these vegetables sweat out. All right, while our vegetables are sweating out, we're gonna add, I'm gonna say about a tablespoon of salt. We're also gonna hit it with some pepper. If you got white pepper will work also. That's what it's looking like right now. Oops. I'm just trying to break these vegetables down. All right, next. Cream of mushroom. Actually, no. Wrong. Next. Minced garlic. That's probably like 2 tablespoons. Now, cream of mushroom soup. Cream of mushroom. And I'm using the whole can. I'm making enough for like 2 small or 1 full-size 4-pan of dressing. So, tailor it to the size that you plan on using. Again, this stuff freezes very well. Once you put this dressing together, it freezes very well. So if you make more, throw in the freezer bag. Trust me, it freezes really, really well. Also, canned cream of chicken. Mix it in there real good. Now, if you notice, I didn't add any celery. But when you add your onions and your peppers, if you like celery, by all means, add celery. We got somebody that has a celery allergy, so that's why I didn't add it. All right. That's what it's looking like so far. It's like a big mess of nothing right now. But oh boy, you just wait a minute. So I'm gonna let that sit and cook for maybe about 5 minutes, kind of cook the rawness out of that cream of mushroom and cream of chicken, and then we'll go on to the next step. All right, now at the next step. The next step is adding that shrimp and turkey stock. What I've done is I've combined the shrimp and turkey stock in this bowl right here, and now I'm getting ready to add some of them to this. So right now you want to kind of ramp up your temperature on your pot. There's no particular measurement. And now I'm gonna start adding it, little by little. I want this to start coming up to a boil. And all that brown stuff that's at the bottom of the pan, it's gonna deglaze with that stock, it's gonna deglaze it, and all that's just gonna add more and more flavor to the base for this dressing. And so I'm gonna let this come to a boil. I'm gonna keep adding it until I get to the consistency that I want. So stay tuned. Yeah, boy. All right. As you can tell, I don't know if you can see it, but it's starting to get a little thick, which is perfect. It's come to a boil, but I'm gonna start adding more stock to it. Because again, you got a lot of cornbread, and I'm gonna fill it up pretty much to the top now. So just remember, you got a lot of cornbread that you're gonna be adding this to, and that cornbread is gonna absorb all of that moisture. So you're gonna need a lot of stock. So I'm just gonna turn my heat back up a little bit, let this cook out some more, let it come to a boil, then I reduce it down. But I'm gonna let it sit here in this pot and do this for probably about 20-25 minutes. All right, our stock has sat here and cooked and reduced down for probably about 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. Now it's time to add two key ingredients. Boil, crawfish boil, you already know. And I'm gonna add a cap of this. Taste it. If you feel like you need more, add more. And I'm also gonna season it now, because if you notice I hadn't seasoned it at all. This is a Cajun seasoning, whatever Cajun seasoning you like. There's plenty of them out there. And we're gonna cook it down, and that's it. We're gonna cook it down for about 5 minutes. Now you could add the hot stock to the cornbread, but I don't like to do it that way. I'm gonna let my stock cool. Cornbread is over there cooling, and I'm gonna bring both worlds together. And we almost finished this dressing, y'all. It seems like a lot of steps, but it's really not. The key to it is to do everything ahead of time. Last step in this stock process, and we're done. Now, of course, make sure you taste it after you season it to make sure, because this is really what's gonna flavor the dressing. This is it right here. You gotta get this right. So to this, I'm gonna go ahead and drop my heat. I'm just gonna cut it off. And I'm gonna add some shrimp. Now this is like some 16, 20 shrimp. This is probably like, maybe like 2 pounds of shrimp. I cut them up though. Dice them up as small as you like, as big as you like. And I'm gonna add that. And I'm just gonna turn it off, turn the heat off, and just let that seafood cook through. I'm also adding crawfish to this dressing. The crawfish are already cooked, so there's no need to add them in here. We'll add them in there last. And that's it, man. And like I say, you could cook this the day ahead of time, let all them flavors come together, and wham, that dressing gonna be fire. All right, last but not least, while my stock is still hot, I took it off the heat, but it's still hot. And these are crawfish tails, already cooked and everything. And if you go to Walmart, they got some straight out of Louisiana, certified Cajun. Can't go wrong, man. You just gonna drop them on in there, man. These crawfish gonna set it out. This gonna set that seafood dressing out. Stock is still warm, nice and hot. And that's it. Now we're gonna build this dressing. Now we're gonna merge two worlds, cornbread and stock together. Yeah, boy. All right, now that we have our cornbread ready, we have our breadcrumbs, seasoned breadcrumbs ready. Now what we want to do is we want to take this cornbread and these breadcrumbs and mix them together and put them in this bowl. And it's pretty much just, you're just gonna break it up. You're just gonna smash it up into this bowl, mix everything together to become one. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get this all mixed up. And I'll come back and show you the next step, adding the stock. Stay tuned. And my advice is if you can make the stock a day ahead of time and let it sit overnight, it's gonna be much better. All the flavors from the seafood and everything are just gonna combine together, and you'll really be able to taste it once it's cooled, as opposed to trying to use it while it's hot. So I've got my stock. I'm just gonna start pouring it in here. And as I'm pouring it, I'm gonna start mixing it. So one hand is gonna be the mix, one hand is gonna be the pour. And actually I may try to mix it with this spatula just to make it a little bit easier and less messy. There's really no way around it. You're gonna have to get your hands dirty, put you on some good gloves, and you'll be just fine. And so we'll go back in and get some more stock and start pouring it in. And you're gonna continue this process until we get it to a good texture, which I'll show you once I get there, so stay tuned. All right, I've used so far 3.5 of these right here, and I think this right here is a 13-ounce container on the cornbread that I had. I like mine a little bit on the wet side. You definitely don't want it dry, because again, this has got to bake, and all that cornbread is gonna do is absorb all of that moisture during the cooking process, so you want to make it somewhat moist. This right here is a good consistency. Still a little mushy, but moist, because what's going to happen is as it cooks in the oven, it's going to tighten up, but you'll still be left with a moist dressing. That won't be, ain't nothing worse than dry dressing. Dry dressing, kiss of death, bro. All of the additional seafood that's in there, because you don't want to leave it in the stock. This is a seafood dressing. You want all the seafood to hit the pot. So make sure you strain your stock, get all that additional seafood, because again, you want all of that seafood in your dressing. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and make a small pan. You always wanna test it before you pan up your big pan. Grab your small ramekin. Make sure you spray it down. Get in there with your hand, make sure you grease it up real good because you don't want your dressing sticking to the bottom. And then go in, put some dressing in your pan. And bake it in the oven. We're gonna bake this off 350 for about 40 minutes. May take 35, but about 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes, and we'll see what we got. Stay tuned. I wanna let it cool first, but this is legit. You got your crawfish, you got your shrimp. That dressing is ready to go, man. So, good luck on making your dressing. Thank you for tuning in today. And as always, good food and good vibes. Yeah, boy. Oh my God. Oh my goodness.